Good afternoon. My name is Greta McLean, and I am the founder of Silent No Longer Tennessee. Over the past 2.5 weeks, we have obtained information regarding allegations of racial and gender discrimination, retaliation, and intimidation. One case involves a female officer who was demoted after she responded to a Facebook post made by another officer. Both she and the other officer, who was male, was demoted from sergeant to officer. There's one big difference, however. The female officer, she was disciplined after she filed a complaint against male lieutenant who was friends with Commander David Corman. The female, she only responded to the post, but she was forced to go to the administrative judge and try and get reinstated as a sergeant. When the judge ruled in her favor, the department saw fit to appeal that decision. And after appearing before the Civil Service Board twice, the board ruled that she should indeed be reinstated as sergeant. But after nearly 2 weeks, the department has yet to reinstate her, essentially stealing income that she is legally due. The male officer, the officer who started the whole thing, he didn't have to jump through these hoops. Instead, he was called into Chief Hager's office and told all the charges were going to be dropped against him and that he would be reinstated as a sergeant. Another case involves the only female black captain in the department. After being transferred to youth services, she noticed that there were several policy violations that involved protected information, evidence, and other issues. When she attempted to address these issues, she met resistance by many of the members of the division, including one lieutenant. When she would tell the lieutenant to do something, the lieutenant chose to go to Deputy Chief Henry. Chief Henry would then call her and essentially tell her, back off. Understanding the serious nature of the violations and following departmental policy, she continued to try to address the issues as best that she could. And she eventually was forced to file a complaint against an employee who just so happened to also be good friends with Human Resources Manager Sue Bibb. Shortly afterwards, the captain was brought up on charges herself, charges that could result in immediate termination. She was transferred to archives and now has a break room for an office. Despite the seriousness of the charges made against her, Chief Henry and the department, they've refused to grant her the chief's hearing that she's requested. They've refused for months. And the continued intimidation and harassment has led to her submitting her 2 weeks' notice. The third incident, it involves a sergeant who was decommissioned after allegations of misconduct were made against her in 2018. Prior to this incident, the sergeant had disagreed with the opinions of OPA Director Kathy Morante and Lieutenant Jason Sharp. This disagreement was about a case. Not long after that incident, the sergeant was told another sergeant would need to start reviewing her files and sign off of them, although this hadn't been required prior to the difference of opinion. When the misconduct allegations came to light, OPA began investigating the allegations in February of 2018. But just 2 months later, in April 18, the charges resulting from the allegations were dismissed by the court. This didn't stop OPA, however. They continued their investigation, and in August of 2018, both Ms. Morante and Lieutenant Sharp found that the sergeant was guilty of policy violations, one which mandated immediate termination. But they didn't follow the policy. They violated and instead chose to leave the sergeant decommissioned. And when another court found the allegations against the sergeant weren't true, those charges were also dismissed in December of 18. But the sergeant still remained decommissioned. Her career was held hostage by OPA, and despite Ms. Morante and Lieutenant Sharp signing an OPA findings report, which stated the sergeant had violated departmental policy that included an offense which required termination. They themselves continued to violate policy. And after 31 months, the sergeant is now finally being told that the charges have been dropped and that she will be recommissioned. The sergeant had 9 years of experience as an investigator prior to being decommissioned, and she has 6 years as a sergeant, including as an investigations sergeant. While she and her career were held hostage for nearly 3 years, she was denied numerous opportunities to further her career, and she is also being denied the opportunity to return to a position equal to the one that she had prior to being decommissioned. Understandably, she does not want to return to the hostile and retaliatory environment of OPA, but there are other positions equal to the one she previously held. Now, on Tuesday, I had a sit-down meeting with Mayor Cooper, and during that meeting, I brought this particular situation to his attention. And after reviewing the documents and reading the letter that the victim had written, Mayor Cooper said her request was, quote, reasonable and appropriate. In fact, he said that more than once. Now, we didn't have time to fully vet all the information of the other cases, so we did not bring those to his attention during that meeting. But today we remember and honor the life and accomplishments of Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg. And it is in large part because of her that sexual harassment is illegal, that women are even allowed in law enforcement, and it is why I was privileged enough to fulfill my dream and follow in my father's footsteps and serve as a Metro Nashville police officer. But there is obviously much work that still needs to be done. The cases mentioned today are clear cases of retaliation, and it is abundantly clear that women who dare to disagree with or challenge men are targeted. While the leadership of the department talks about diversity and recruiting more females, their actions do not reflect a true commitment. For example, in a video posted late last week, Interim Chief Drake calls our advocacy for the MNPD employees who have come to us for help as an attack on the culture of the department. And he further states he does not agree with the assertions and characterizations that are being made by his own employees. That statement does not show a willingness to listen to the concerns of MNPD employees, nor does it appear to reflect a willingness to examine the culture and address the undeniably serious issues within the department. A commitment to change, a commitment to justice and equality is much more than words. It takes action. It definitely appears that the MNPD leadership are not willing to take action. So now we are calling on Mayor Cooper to use the power granted to him under the Metro Charter to help these 3 women receive the minimum justice that they deserve. Immediate reinstatement to the rank of sergeant. Immediate dismissal of the charges against the captain. And the immediate assignment for the sergeant to the new homicide unit, which currently holds only male supervisors, or a similar investigative unit position. If the department will not voluntarily protect the rights of women and minorities and ensure they are treated equally, then we certainly hope that Mayor Cooper will step up, that he will make an active commitment to making sure these 3 women are treated fairly and receive justice.